The season opener is upon us. Welcome to the X's and Omar edition for Week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks. The Dolphins maybe have the toughest Week 1 game of the season, at least the toughest challenge going into one of the loudest stadiums in all of the NFL. Alongside Dolphins columnist Omar Kelly, I'm CBS 12 Sports Director Matt Lincoln. What a challenge the Dolphins have for Week 1.
Double-digit deficit in terms of the odds makers, 10-point underdogs. It's going to be a great challenge for them. More than anything, I think facing a team of the caliber of the Seattle Seahawks, where you've got an effective, efficient, elite quarterback. Dolphin fans don't like when you say Russell Wilson's elite because they say, oh, Ryan Tannehill could have led the Seahawks to what they achieved. And come on, let's be real. Russell Wilson's elite quarterback. They've got one of the best top 5 defenses in all of the entire NFL. But let's not pretend like the Seahawks are impenetrable. They're unbeatable because they've got some issues in their own.
They have some flaws, certainly, but this is one of just a group of very difficult games that the Dolphins face to start the season. They play 4 teams that were in the playoffs last year in their first 6 games. You could call this the toughest schedule to start the season among any NFL team.
I would say it is by far the toughest schedule to start the season. You're on the road at Seattle. You're on the road at New England. You're on the road Cincinnati. I forget where Pittsburgh is.
That's at home.
That's
at home game.
Oh, okay. Finally, a formidable opponent at home. But this is arguably the toughest stretch. Now, the season lightens up a little bit in the middle of the season before you end the year on the road in the AFC East. I'm not looking forward to Christmas in Buffalo.
No,
but
you enjoy that trip.
This is a very tough opener of the season. Now, for me, I'm not really going to judge this team based on what they do in Seattle. I'm not going to judge them based on what they do in New England. I'm looking for what they do from that point on. From Cleveland on is where I will assess and evaluate, because you're headed into 2 of the toughest home venues in the entire NFL in your first 2 games. That's a tremendous challenge.
And thankfully, they do have 2 of the worst teams theoretically in the NFL, the Browns and the Titans, coming to Miami during that stretch. So you'd say, if it's a 2-4 start, I mean, that's what we're kind of looking at here.
Pretty much. I mean, to me, the biggest thing is you need to walk away from the first 4 games of the season with at least 1 victory. To me, when I've always evaluated when teams start to struggle in terms of mentally, it's that 3-game losing skid. You can't afford it. Once you hit that 3-game losing skid, you get into the Cam Cameron territory where your players are walking around looking like, does this coach really know what he's talking about? Does he know what he's doing? And once that doubt starts to creep in, you got to extinguish it. You can't afford a 4-game losing streak, because then it's over.
So I would say, don't panic.
Yeah. No matter what you see against Seahawks, don't panic.
This is a big loss. Don't panic.
The whole season, don't panic.
Just don't panic anyway.
This is a season. The Dolphins don't like to use the word rebuilding.
Right.
They're not going to ever use the word rebuilding. It just doesn't sell tickets. This is a rebuilding season. Reality is, this is a season just like Joe Philbin did in 2012, where you go into it and you find out what you have so that you can build from there. Now, Joe Philbin built a clunker from there, but there's no guarantee that Mike Tannenbaum, Chris Kerr, and Adam Gase will build a clunker from that point on. This is a season for exploration. Let's be excited about what we explore and find.
Well, Dolphins are going to face the Seahawks possibly down 3 very important players. Jelani Jenkins, Earl Mitchell, Mike Pouncey. We don't know they're practicing right now. We don't know if they're out there working out, but still, if those 3 players don't play this weekend.
DeVante Parker.
Yeah. Their 3rd or 4th receiver, DeVante Parker, might also not play.
How did you dare just call DeVante Parker a 4th receiver?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying he can't get out there. He can't get out there.
He's a 3rd receiver.
He is a 3rd receiver. Okay, fair enough.
But let's update you on some of these injuries. Mike Pouncey is battling a hip injury. More than likely, he's going to eventually get back on the practice field either at the end of this week or at the week after that. I don't expect him to play for at least the first 2 weeks of the season. I could be wrong knowing Mike Pouncey, but the last thing you want to do is have Pouncey suffer an injury that sets him back, where he's got to have the whole hip repaired. And then season's done. You don't want to do that. Jelani Jenkins is coming back from a knee scope that he had 2 weeks ago. Generally takes about 4 weeks for a knee scope to recover. I'm seeing Jelani Jenkins run straight line, but he's not cutting. When he starts cutting, we could talk about him getting back on the practice field. Earl Mitchell has been sidelined for the last month with a calf injury. Earl is practicing. Will he be 100%? Probably not. But then again, Earl Mitchell contributed, what, 16 tackles last season?
Right.
Earl Mitchell to 100%? Or can we really, like... but he's going to be playing. The question is whether or not he's going to be starting over Jordan Phillips. I say no.
Well, and a little bit of a different schedule, too, this week with the Dolphins. They're going to Seattle to have a Friday practice, and then we'll be able to see whether or not these guys are really active. Let's take our first question from Steve. Do you think Mike Pouncey is breaking down?
I think like every other NFL player who hits the age of 27, I think 28 is probably the age when they start to break down. But Mike Pouncey's 27, just like his brother, who happens to be his identical twin, same DNA. They battled some injuries the past couple of years, 3 years. So can I realistically say that Mike Pouncey will be healthy for the remainder of his career? No. He plays a very difficult position, 1,000 snaps a season. Your body starts to wear down. Last year it was a foot injury. Right now it's the hip again for the third time. These things are going to happen.
Well, I guess the more poignant question is his days of playing at a Pro Bowl caliber over?
No.
Okay.
I disagree with that. I think when Mike Pouncey is good, Mike Pouncey's elite. To me, it's about strengthening what's around him.
All right. Next question comes from Kevin. I think this is a true or false question. DeVante Parker will play at least 10 games this season.
I think that that's true.
Yeah, I think so too.
Missing 6 is good. Missing 6 is a good number. I would say he'd probably play about 12 games this season. I've nicknamed DeVante Parker Bubble Wrap because that's generally what you have to practice with him in. But here's the thing that is important. You drafted a fragile receiver. You knew he was fragile when he was at University of Louisville. You got a fragile receiver. Don't complain and cry about it. Just get him healthy.
Is this a valid criticism of him, though, that he can't figure out how to keep himself healthy? Is it the fact that he's not keeping himself healthy, or is it the fact that he's not toughing out some smaller injuries?
I don't know if toughening out some smaller injuries is fair because I watched him exactly when he got hurt. And he looked damn good when he finally opened up and ran.
Right.
He was booking when he ran. And that booking, he was like, oh. And that's the thing. Do you want a healthy DeVante Parker at 70%? Or do you want 100% DeVante Parker who could be elite but can't stay healthy for 10 games? Which one do you want?
I want the elite guy out there and being ready when he's out there.
So that means you want him only for 10 games this season.
Okay. I mean, I'd rather see him out there and get someone else.
That means shut him down for the next month.
All right.
Shut him down for the next month, let his hamstring heal, and then when he's ready to play in the second half of the season, make the best of the second half of the season.
I don't think I want to see him on Sunday.
I don't want to see him
on
I don't
Sunday.
think there's a chance you'll see him on Sunday.
All right. Daniel asks, what are the 3 most important things Dolphins must do to beat Seattle?
Starts with the quarterback, Russell Wilson. Contain him. Do not allow him to get out the pocket. Do not allow him to improvise and create broken plays. That's hard, but that's going to require the cornerbacks stay on their man, be disciplined. The second thing is stay away from Richard Sherman. There's no point. Richard Sherman is an elite cornerback. He's going to be on the left side. You know exactly where he's going to be. Put your weakest receiver on the left side. Go attack with your other players, your other pieces. And even I'll give you a better strategy. Have Jakeem Grant go out there, and every time he's on Darrelle Revis, run a 9 route. Richard Marshall.
Yeah.
Running a 9 route. Run 60 yards. Just keep running 60 yards.
Right.
Wear him out. By the time the second half gets here, attack him. You want to go about that route, attack him. To me, though, the game will be won and lost in the trenches.
Yeah.
And this is where the Dolphins have their biggest edge. Because on paper, notice I said on paper, the Dolphins have a better offensive line. The Dolphins have a better defensive line. On paper, now mind you, Seattle's got one of the best defenses in the NFL, very stingy. But on paper, Sue, Mario Williams, Cam Wake, Jason Jones, whoever you want to throw in there at tackle, those guys are better than what Seattle has. Can you stop the run? Can you contain Christian Michaels? Can you contain Thomas Rawls? Can you make Seattle one-dimensional so that they have to put the pressure on Ryan Tannehill? Oh, I'm sorry, put the pressure on Russell Wilson's shoulders, because we see what happens when teams put the pressure on Ryan Tannehill's shoulders. He eventually buckles. Well, put the pressure on Russell Wilson's shoulders and make him play like a superhero.
And those are three huge challenges that face this Dolphin. And you almost
On the
say,
road.
just win one of those battles. You know, if you don't, don't get run over. Have good run defense. Be able to run the ball. Do something. You want to pull something out of this game. You want to. You don't. On paper, it looks like this is going to be a really rough game for this team, and you want to at least come out of something saying, the offense. Tannehill seemed to have some grasp of this offense. They were able to move the ball, or this defense showed something again in a really tough challenge. Show us something.
You're making me think, because here's my thought process on what you just said, and you make a very valid point. Here's three things that I will look towards to see that this is a positive step for the Dolphins. Were you able to consistently run the ball? Were you able to get 4 yards per carry? Whether it be Arian Foster or Jay Ajayi, I don't give a damn. Whoever it is, run the ball. Take the pressure off Ryan Tannehill. Were you able to stop the run consistently? Seattle's going to want to run it. Can you stop it? We've got all these Pro Bowl defensive linemen, all these linebackers who've proven that they can be good players. Okay, stop the damn run.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is, can you put up 24 points? To me, that is so critical, because if you want to be effective in this wide nine defense, if you want to be able to pin your ears back and go and attack the quarterback, how this defense is built, you kind of need points.
Right, I agree that to that point too. That's another thing that I'm scared about, is that this, we're doing lots of dinks and dunks again. We're working a lot in that 10-yard box. Are we going to see another issue of this is an offense that's not going to be able to get into the end zone? That's what we've seen with Ryan Tannehill's entire career. Offenses that can't get in the end zone.
He's been okay getting into the end zone in his first 2 years of his career. It's kind of tailed off at the end. But yes, this offense is 10-play, 12-play drives to score. And then last year they kind of gave you some quick strikes, but not enough points, 19 points. You got to score points to win in the NFL. Yeah. That's the bottom line. You got to score points.
If they're good on offense and bad on defense, that's almost a good thing. It's a plus, because at least they did well on one side of the ball.